George Bush was born on July 6, 1946, which gives him a life path number of 6. As I'm sure you are all aware, the life path number is the facet of an individual's numerological makeup which affects them the most profoundly. It gives us a glimpse of the inborn characteristics and skills that we are endowed with, as well as the general tasks we will be expected to complete during our lifetime. I would like to note, before examining Bush's life path, that he was in fact born with a master number life path, which I am unwilling to expound upon for a variety of reasons, but the primary one being that I don't feel he is currently living up to the power of a master number. Now then, with a 6 life path, George Bush is an individual endowed with a great deal of compassion. Yes, I know, this seems a sharp contrast to how the public feels about him, but allow me to elaborate, if you will. He desires to be of service to others, to help the weak and downtrodden, and he possesses an unparalleled loyalty and a sense of responsibility. No one, regardless of how they feel about him, can deny that he is intrinsically loyal to all those he considers friends. The problem with this life path, particularly for Mr. Bush, is that he sees himself as the savior of the world. Yes, as painful as it may be to think, George Bush has good intentions for everything he's doing, however you wish to look at it. One could argue that good intentions do not justify the means, but I am hardly here to discuss political viewpoints. The 6 is a life path of leadership through responsibility, and if anything, that has been one of the core themes of the president's 2 terms. Moving forward, I would like to touch briefly upon his personality number, the energy vibrations which the public would be most familiar with. He is an 8 personality, which is terribly fitting, I must say. With an 8 personality, he radiates with a natural strength and simply exudes authority. There is also a certain level of benevolent charm, as 8s want everyone around them to remain positive, a trait which has gotten George Bush in difficulties on numerous occasions. The usage of humor in inappropriate situations, for example. 8 personalities do have a tendency toward egocentricity, as well, and when challenged can seem almost ruthless. Next, let's discuss his soul number, which happens to be a 7. I won't deny that when I first saw this, I had minor difficulties in comprehending precisely how that could come together with his character. But then, of course, it seemed all very logical. The 7 is the number of spirituality. Criticize Bush as you may, but he holds fast to his faith, a propensity which can be admired or feared depending on one's personal viewpoint. 7s also need solitude, which would explain why he takes so many trips back to his Crawford ranch, something he has been highly criticized for, but is perhaps for the best. If 7s aren't given time to recuperate and analyze, they can become extremely tense. I would like also to touch upon Mr. Bush's destiny number, which happens to be in alignment with his life path, another 6. This is extremely fitting indeed. The 6th destiny is an individual who is concerned with responsibility and desires nothing more than to be of service, to an almost overzealous extent, which certainly sounds like our president, does it not? He has a desire to help, and the 6th destiny often has problems distinguishing help from interference. Such a destiny can also lead to an unparalleled tenacity. Finally, I wish to discuss with you all what I feel is the most important aspect of Mr. Bush's numerological makeup. His soul number is also a karmic debt, a 16-7. This is the karmic debt of rebirth, the building up of ego and then the destruction of it. Although this may sound terrible, I do believe that George Bush has dug himself into a hole, one that has been coming for a long time and he will inevitably have to pay for. I don't think this will be a public sentiment at all. I think it will be a personal realization that leads to personal growth, which may not be much consolation to the public that feels spurned by his actions, but karmic debt is karmic debt. I do believe that George Bush will remain extremely active in public affairs after his 2nd term ends, and against my better judgment, I think the world will be very lucky for his future activism. I do hope that through this vlog I have been able to properly expound upon the numerological influences at work in President George W. Bush's life, and that perhaps you now have at least a somewhat better understanding of our highly controversial leader. Until next time, this is Numerologically Speaking.